That's our job, is to just kind of unfold what he's put in there and help nurture and develop that. Um, and it's not easy, but it's rewarding. There is a cost to homeschooling, and it isn't just the money that you spend to buy curriculum, it's the time you invest, it's the sacrifice, for a season of time. And it's not to say you can never do anything outside of homeschooling, because we do, lots of people do. I volunteered at church, I volunteered with AFI, we did lots of things, but the most important thing I invested my time in was my children and their education. And it is a season, and it's okay that there's a sacrifice, and that, that there is a price that we pay. It's time, it's energy, it's resources. It's denying myself for some seasons, but there's also so many rewards. And so that's really the point of this message, is that we sacrifice a lot, but we're sowing seeds that reap a harvest well beyond our lives and beyond our children's lives even. And so what we invest in their education, in raising them up to know the Lord, there is a great reward for that. And so that's kind of the heart of this, is just that it is an investment. It's not like you decide to homeschool and you pay for a program or you buy a curriculum and then it just happens. There's work involved, and a lot of daily work, and a lot of, sometimes I think, kind of dying to self, the selfishness in us that really, I don't feel like doing something today, or I don't, whatever, where we have to do the right thing, whether our flesh feels like it or not. And the bigger investment there is that we're modeling it for our children. Like, we're teaching them how to live a life where we're following the Lord. That our flesh might want to react when something hard happens, whether it's conflict in a home, relationship between family members, or something external that's happening. How we respond, our kids are watching that. And so to me, like, the investment that we're making is raising future adults, in raising people who love the Lord. And they get to, we're unfolding the gifts that are in our kids so that they can become who God's created them to be. He has a purpose and a plan for them. And so it's like, that's our job, is to just kind of unfold what he's put in there and help nurture and develop that. And it's not easy, but it's rewarding.
It really is. I love that you talk about it being a sacrifice, because we never, ever, ever on this podcast want to make it seem like homeschooling is easy. It's such a breeze. I'm so good at this homeschool thing. I get up every morning with a smile on my face. My kids get up every morning with a smile on their face, and we just go about our day, and everything falls into place perfectly. And, they know all the things they need to know, and there's never complaining or whining or crying. That's not real life for anyone that I know. And it's hard. It is really hard. Sometimes some days are harder than others. Some days are a whole lot more joyful than others, but anything worth doing is hard. Sometimes marriage is really hard, but it's worth it. It's worth the work that you put into it. Parenting, homeschooling is really a whole lot about parenting. I mean, it's mostly about parenting, and parenting is hard. And some seasons are harder than others. But there is so much reward.
There's a cost you must pay to obtain something. If you go buy something, you have to pay money. If you're trying to invest in your children, you have to pay. There's a price to be paid: time, energy, resources, all the things that we've talked about. But there's a value that comes with that cost, the price that you pay. And to me, like, I always wanted to, know my why. I think it's really important to have that core value. Like, why am I choosing to homeschool? Because if you don't know that, you're not going to stay the course. It's really easy to be knocked off course when things are challenging or hard or whatever. But for me, I wanted to raise my kids to know, first of all, that they would know and love the Lord, that they would have a hard work ethic, that they would be, living the life that he prepared for them, the purposes that he, placed in them. And, so when I had a goal in mind, when I could see why we were doing this, then the daily was a little easier. Not to say that it's easy, but you're working towards something. And so it's totally worth it. And of course, there's so many blessings. I think people really feel like their kids are going to miss out, or you're going to miss out because they're with you all the time and you don't have time to yourself, first of all, take time when you can. But you know what? There's something about giving to your children that helps you grow as a person. Like, I feel like I'm such a better human being because I walked out things that I was trying to teach my children.
Yeah.
I couldn't be grumpy and cranky and, impatient and unorganized if I was trying to teach them to be the opposite of those things. And
Right.
so God really cultivated character in me as I raised my kids. But kind of looking at the end, say you have little ones right now. Ask yourself, like, what do you want when your last one graduates? How do you want to look back on your homeschool experience? What do you want to see when you look back? Do you want to see a whole bunch of disappointment and missed expectations and, gosh, I wish I could have? Well, if you think about that today, you can make decisions today and invest yourself today in a way that will give you that result at the end where you can look back and go, I screwed up plenty, but my kids turned out great and we had a great experience and our relationships were good, if that makes sense.
Sure. It absolutely does. And it's such, goal setting is so important when it comes to homeschooling. And again, every part of life, when it comes to homeschooling, when it comes to parenting, when it comes to marriage, if you don't know where you're going, it's really hard to stay the course. And oftentimes that why has to change, because today a lot of people are homeschooling because they've been forced into homeschooling because of COVID. And so that might be their why. Our why when we first started was really out of fear of sending our daughter to public school, but we didn't yet have that conviction of, we had a conviction of family discipleship, but we didn't quite understand how homeschooling played into all of that. And so once we really understood that and our eyes were opened, that became our why. And so what your why is today may not be what your why is tomorrow. However, if you have your goals set in front of you, that will help direct your why and why you're doing this or why you should continue to do this. I was actually talking with a mom at co-op the other day, and she's a COVID homeschooler, and she's just like, it's so much better than I expected.
Yeah.
And she's enjoying the time with her kids, and it's just so much more than she ever thought it could be. And so now she's like, I think I might actually stick with this, and praise God for that. I mean, of all the things that have come out of this COVID mess,
right.
Praise God for those parents who have, by mistake, if you will, brought their kids home. And it wasn't by God's mistake. I mean, this is all part of his perfect plan for their family. But it's been really exciting to see parents for the first time open their eyes and go, oh, wow, yeah, I can do this. And now I've proven to myself that I can.